My name is Peter, recovered alcoholic. And grateful to be alive and sober. Part of a sacred place called Alcoholics Anonymous. And thank the group for having me, and Sheldon for all the work you're doing for us on Tuesday night. Thank you. Before we get going, it's great sitting back there and watching people make that, counting days. And then we get to the years. It's a blast listening to it. It's real Alcoholics Anonymous music. Maybe I'm getting old. I get a little bit more sentimental thinking about my first year and how clueless I was. Yet I thought I had it together. I remember my first coin. My entire family showed up. It looked like an episode out of The Sopranos. And I'm up there thinking like, wow, they must really love me. And I realized they were just making sure I wasn't running another scam on it. And I got up there, one of those, those jumps, warm-up suits with the, oh God, it was so ugly. And I dropped about 5 F-bombs during my taking of a coin, and not thinking much about it because that's who I still was. And when the meeting was over and everyone's, congratulating you and all that nice stuff, and my family saying goodnight, my sponsor was off to the side and he didn't really care. It was an anniversary and he gave me one of these. That means you're in trouble when the sponsor does it. And he called me into the kitchen. He went up one side, down the other on me. And he dropped a lot of those words on me. And he corrected me about using that kind of language at a meeting, especially when women were present and non-AAs were there like family. And he says, what is this outfit you're wearing? You look like something out of a movie. It was that parachute material we used to wear, and stripes on it. I really thought I was the cat's meow. I mean, I thought it was something. And, oh man, he let me have it. So I never dressed like that again. And that's probably the last time I used any kind of inappropriate language, and that has obviously changed for the better, thank God. But when I sit there, it's just wonderful seeing people celebrate. There's some groups I know who really minimize anniversaries. It's almost like a very matter-of-fact thing, and I don't get that. It's a pretty cool celebration. Nancy, where are you? I thought you had like 40 years sober. So thank you for all the service you do here. So congratulations to all the celebrants. And the last thing I'll say about anniversaries, I know it's about the celebrant getting up there and making the 1 year or 5 years, but it's really testimony and evidence that Alcoholics Anonymous works. Okay. That this isn't just something passing. We have another, I think we're going to be 90 soon, that this thing really works. It says if you work it. So it's really interesting. If I get in here with the spirit of willingness, which comes from desperation, which was given to me in 1988, and I follow instructions and realize it's not my program, it's the program. And if I'm willing to do things other than what my head tells me to do, I don't take what I want and leave the rest. That's very, very dangerous. I don't have a good level of a discernment. I'm not on a spiritual level, but just do what the sponsor says and follow the instructions in the book. Years mount up quick. And we're suddenly sitting, we were talking about this before the meeting, how quickly you move into a place where newcomers are looking at you as the old timer, which is kind of nice and scary at the same time. But I need to follow instructions. So congratulations to everyone. June 23rd, 1988 is when this loving God separates me from alcohol. And I really didn't see me, I wanted to, I didn't really see me staying here longer. I thought something bad would happen to me. I mean, that's just the way it always played out for me. When something looks too good to be true, it is. And AA looked too good to be true, and something would undermine it, probably me. But I kept following instructions, and I followed instructions not because of anything admirable in me, but because I'm not that good, but God is that great. And he gave me a mustard seed of fear, meaning I was afraid to screw with the product. I was afraid to screw around. My sponsor did do something. I didn't want to go home and I'll do it later. I did it, and I'm not really the brightest bulb in the box. It just desperation and fear had me follow instructions. And there was one time I remember we used to go in Brooklyn to a morning meeting at St. Mary's Church. And it was a few miles from where I was living with my kid brother. And at night at 7:30 in the same church, there was another meeting. 2 different groups met in the same place. And that afternoon, my sponsor said, when you're done with that morning meeting, I want you to go home and finish your 4th step because we're going to do a 5th step this week. And I had a whole chunk of inventory to write. And it was a beautiful, warm summer day in New York. And the guys, we were in a car, you know, the AA car where you put 40 guys in one car. It was like that. And they were all going to the beach. In Coney Island, Brooklyn, they had a place called Serenity Beach. And it was like all these fellowships meeting and that whole thing. And they were going down there, and he says, we're going to the beach. I says, I can't. How come? My sponsor said, go home and finish your 4th step. And they wanted to beat him up. What kind of sponsor? You're supposed to have fun. The heck with the 4th step. Do it another time. We're all going to the beach. And I knew what their motives were. They were going to pick up girls. And I said, that's not going to keep me sober. And I was too afraid to go with them. And I went home, and I spent that Sunday afternoon writing a 4th step, finishing it. And here's what happened. I did my 5th step, and 6 and 7 and so on. The guy driving that car has not been found. The guy in the front seat, I sponsor now because he went out on a 15-year run. He had 5 years when I met him. I sponsor him now. The guy in the back seat I know is dead. And the other guy, I have no idea where he is. I don't know what would have happened to my wife if I went to the beach that day. So I don't really, I'm sober a few years, and I've seen a few birthdays in AA, and I still don't play with directions when my sponsor gives them to me. There's what I like to call a spiritual level of discernment that we get, that we're on a different plane where we can see right from wrong, truth from false. And there's also that little thing in here, that little voice that says, don't play with this. Pay attention to this. Sponsor just said, go home and do this, or have this done for tomorrow, or read this book. So that's what I'm going to do. Have I gotten so arrogant that I think I can take what I want and leave the rest? If you're new, pay no attention to that. It's really bad information because we really don't know what to take and what to leave. Yeah. Just get to another meeting. I remember when I made my first year sober, my sponsor says, make sure you get to a meeting tomorrow, the day after your coin. It's that important. I didn't question. That's what I did. And so my assignment here, as we did 6 last week, is talk about step 7. And we have a beautiful prayer in the 7-step prayer, but how do I get there? Humbly ask to remove our shortcomings. Where's the spirit of humility come from? How could I humbly ask God when it's impossible for me to get myself humble? That's an impossible task. If I think I'm getting humble, I'm probably full of ego. But where that comes from, it doesn't come from me, it comes to me. It's a process of ego deflation. By the time I get to 7, where I'm in a place of recognizing of myself, I am nothing, the Father doeth the works. That the only way that this stuff that's marinating in the pan still, defects or shortcomings, is going to get worked on, removed, tweaked, whatever it might be, is only the touch of God's hand. I can't work on defects. I tried working on defects. I become obsessed with my defects. And eventually my knees buckle, I'm into a defect. And those are just plaque on the soul. They'll take me out for a drink. And the 7-step prayer, it says, my Creator, I am now willing to have all of me, good and bad. If we look at the 3rd step and the 7-step prayer, they parallel each other. We're going to God and asking that you take me good and bad. It's not for me to say, well, this is good, you can leave this one alone, God. That one's bad, you got to take that. What I'm doing is offering me once again to be remodeled again. Am I willing to do that walk? Am I willing to be uprooted once more? Because as soon as I think I'm done, there's more work to be done. What God needs is boots on the ground. We're his hands and feet. He needs the best product out there, if you will, for lack of a better term, taking care of his kids. Because if I show up to your door broken and flawed and full of defects or shortcomings, full of the isms, what kind of service am I going to be to you? We'll both get drunk. So he needs very good tools to go out there, boots on the ground, to go get the rest of his kids who are dying right now as we speak in a bar under a bridge somewhere. So I discovered this defect of character stuff by going through the steps, by decision in 3, and then doing the heavy lifting in 4, and finding out some things about me that I really thought were icky. I don't really want to look at this stuff. I don't really want to talk about it, but there it is in front of me in black and white. And then I got to go share it with someone in step 5, which really steps on the ego's throat, which doesn't feel comfortable but necessary. The more air I take out of the ego, the better. Because there seems to be more ego, less God. And I can't even remove that, but the process will. Ask anyone who's gone through the steps. They're different people. And I knew I didn't want to be the guy on that 4th step anymore. Even, I think I shared this last week. The guy on the last 4th step I did, I don't want to be him either. I wait patiently for God to take me to another place. And whatever that is, it's got to be better than where I'm at even tonight. It's about constant unfolding and growing and understanding and effectiveness. That just as soon as I think I'm getting comfortable, God's going to take away comfortability, and because I'm looking now for comfort rather than growing. But for me in alcohol, once I get comfortable, I pop the car in neutral. I stay right here. God said we don't have time for that. What I'm seeking is what author Thomas Merton talks about, and that's spiritual joy. Because if I'm looking for comfort, I mean, who doesn't want to be comfortable? But the things I think are going to make me comfortable, I start to seek more of. I become gluttonous with that stuff. And that can be the very thing that's taken me away from God. And if you remove one of those things that I think make me comfortable, I'm tight again, I'm uncomfortable, I'm restless and discontented. I start blaming, I become full of me again, rather than seeking God to become full of God. But when we get to this place that Merton talks about, experiencing spiritual joy, that's given to us by God and is completely unaffected by anything external. It's a walk inside here that I'm okay. I may not have a ton of money, I may not even be in a relationship, but I'm okay, and I'm going to be okay. Bill Wilson talks about in emotional sobriety, it's called The Next Frontier.
Yep.
My sponsor used to call it growing up spiritually. How I can be an Alcoholics Anonymous for 20 and 30 years with still acting like an adolescent. I want perfect love. I want the perfect relationship. I want applause wherever I go. And it's really a sense of entitlement. Who am I to say, because I'm sober this long, that I should be in a relationship with someone who loves me? It says who? It says me. And I get a case of the poor me's. Then I start to blame people. I pick people off. Here comes jealousy and envy, and I'm right in the middle of my isms again. God's going to determine that. Or I'm starting to look in places I shouldn't look for to meet folks. That's not good. My mind says I should have this much money now. That's a sense of entitlement. Well, I paid my dues in AA. I'm this age. I should have this much money now. Says who? Says me. Says my mind. It's a sense of entitlement. I start picking people off. I start blaming. I become restless and discontented. When is my turn going to come? And I hate everyone. I'm consumed with me again. Anger, I get consumed with my own anger. And I can't see or I can't hear God. And I'm right in the middle of defects of character. Yeah. In the 7th step, it says, when ready, I say something like this, and then they follow with the 7-step prayer. I finish the 6-step assignment, then it says, in the 7th step, when ready, we say something like this. My Creator, we do the 7-step prayer. And it begs the question, I read past this for years, my sponsor says, take a look at that. What's it telling you? I read it. He's, no. What is it telling you? I didn't know. When ready? Well, begs the question, when am I ready to do this 7th step? Because I can just do it and check another box. I do a lot of box checking as I'm going through the steps, but I have to stop right there. Am I ready right now to have God take over once again and uproot me? But I'm so afraid of what I might become on this process, I hold on to what I know. And for some of us, We get down to step 7 without even realizing it. The ego starts to flex its muscles a little bit, and little by slowly starts doing the thinking for us, like, hey, you're good, man. You did a 5th step, you're good. You have 3 commitments. You sponsor guys. You got a job. You got a little AA girlfriend. What's the problem? You got nice clothes. Everybody likes you. What's this any lent stuff? I paid my dues. I got like a year sober. I paid my dues. And the thirst for God, the hunger for God, the need to go and understand the effect, it starts to wane. I had a conversation with a guy sponsored just the other morning, and I says, how come I'm doing this and you're not? And what I was doing, what I did as recently as this morning, I go to God and ask him to discipline me to spiritual principles. Because I'm an alcoholic and undisciplined, left to my own device. I'll skip prayer, I'll skip meditation, and I'll put the car in neutral, and then you'll hear about me. My Creator, I'm now willing you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my uses to you, God, and my fellows. This 7-step prayer is not about making me popular or rich or good looking or have a new car or speaking a lot. It's about one thing, getting me right sized to go out into the field and get other ones. It says, grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. That's the work in 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And bring people in and sponsor some of them. It's that important. In fact, if we look at 6 and 7, there's a paragraph for 6 and a paragraph for 7. It seems like, well, how important could this be? But if we pull those 2 paragraphs out and went from the 5th step right into the 9th step, I'd be doing a lot of damage in making amends, because I'm showing up to you, not with hat in hand and a spirit of humility that's been given to me, but looking for an angle, looking for approval, looking for applause, something. It's always about me. This gets me out of the way. I don't know if I shared this last week, and if I did, forgive me, but that hour quiet time that we get after step 5, and then we do 6, and then we do 7, all my sponsors had us sit with that for about 3 days, just to let that marinate a little bit, to make sure that we were really willing to have God go to work on us. Once again, I'm in a place of willingness and get ready to do whatever he wants us to do. If there was something that maybe came to the surface, I can address that. So it was just a pause moment. But I remember one time I got done with the 5th step, and it was probably my 3rd time through the work. And I used to go through the steps once and once only. And about 8 or 9 years into doing that, I started to hit a wall and start to flatline in here. And I needed a new experience, and a new sponsor was put in my life. Thank you, God. Amen. And I'm one of those guys who go through the steps once a year now. That doesn't make me a better member than anyone. It's just my experience, and I'll swear by it. But I got out of my 5th step, and I was getting the hour quiet time they talk about at the end of step 5. And it's quiet time. Just me and God communing. I have to commune with God if I'm going to communicate with you. And see what came to the surface. And I thank God from the bottom of my heart that I know him better, followed all those instructions, and I just go quiet. And somewhere in the middle of that, something began to happen, and my sponsor always talked about daily dying for successful living, the death of self before the physical death. And I didn't know what that meant until this one time. And I realized as I'm in the sound, getting uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. Looking at me, the guy I was, with a lot of disappointment, and I don't want to be that guy anymore. I was getting really uncomfortable. I started to bleed into what is this AA all about? And who is this guy I call a sponsor, my guide, my life manager? I'm entrusting him with a lot of sensitive stuff. And I just went on. And then who is this God? And it got to a point where I was becoming physically ill. It was getting really uncomfortable. The best way to describe it, I felt like it was coming down with the flu at one point. It was just really uncomfortable. So I broke the hour and I called my sponsor. And I told him exactly what was taking place. And he said to me the following: it sounds to me like you're having an experience. And then he hung up the phone. And I'm angry with him. I didn't call him back. I didn't have it in me to say, who are you talking to? I would never do that to a sponsor, ever. That's just disrespectful. And so I went back and tried to get still. And then he called me later on. And he said, how many times have you heard me talk about the death of self for successful living? He said, you know what that means now, don't you? He knew exactly what was going on with me. There was this, what we talk about in the book, a huge spectacular upheaval. When we hear that, we think it's going to be butterflies and rainbows. Like sometimes we talk about the spiritual experience. When we get there, when we're in it, it feels wonderful going there. There's a lot of bruises and calluses on the way. Stuff I don't want to even talk about, let alone look at. So part of that huge spectacular upheaval was a lot of pulling and stretching and questioning and doubts and all of it. And it made me kind of feel physically ill. It was necessary because it put me in very good soil. Thank you, God, for that. I can't pull this off on my own. And the spirit of willingness he gave me, I was just a willing participant. Where else am I going to go after AA? I'm sober over 36 years. Where else am I going to go? I have a wonderful woman in my life, absolutely lovely in my life. I have brothers that I'm closer than close. I have a handful of guys that I can trust with my life and a huge fellowship around me. With all of that, that cannot replace Alcoholics Anonymous. Where else am I going to go? And if I think this is like second in the batting order, I'm in a lot of trouble. That's why I chop wood and carry water all the time here, and sometimes I'm asked to do things that I'm just tired. Tonight where I'm missing the hell out of my wife, but tonight where I would have been cool, it was a long day of work, I would have been cool making some dinner, going to bed early tonight. It's just one of those nights you just want to chill. But I got a job to do. It's called a commitment to be here. And every time I stay home, I always wonder, I hear the music and I'm thinking of what's going on in the meeting. And I said, I could have gone there, so I go. I just want to read a couple of things here about this work. In chapter 2, Agnostics, it says this. It says that there's a revolutionary change in my way of living and thinking if I follow a few simple rules. This is a huge promise, and I really need to pay attention to it. That if I follow a few simple rules, it's not that difficult. Getting sober is difficult. Staying sober is like kissing a newborn baby on the cheek compared to what I do to stay drunk. But if I follow a few simple rules, per the sponsor in the steps in the big book, there's going to be a revolution, a complete overhaul in my way of living and thinking. If my thinking changes, my actions will change, which is what I need. I'm in here a year, and is that a dog or is that somebody going through withdrawal? Okay. It's a dog?
Here, sorry.
Okay. I'll have a drink. I was here a year, as I said earlier, my first trip. And I have now an eating disorder that I'm coming into meetings with, secret eating disorder, not telling anyone. That goes into my first year. And by the time I get to my second year, I'm certainly a lot better. But I have a lot of old voices that I'm still entertaining and listening to, all fear-based, trying to puff my chest out, not to be a tough guy, but just to fit in, trying to sound like Joe, who's got 30 or 40 years when I'm coming up on 2 years. And they would ask me, how you doing? I'm great, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm great, you know? And this is not a good place to be. The fertile ground was drying up quick. It was another surrender and following the rules again. to have a revolutionary change in my way of thinking and living, or living and thinking, because that was needed. And it's needed right now. It'll be needed tomorrow morning. It'll be needed if God lets me see another year or 2 years or 30 years. It's going to be needed all the time. I got to constantly move. Oh, if I'm staying still, it's not going to work. It's called growing or I'm going. And the thing about defects of character, one of the prayers we were told to work with is, God, please reveal to me the things I'm unaware of before they get to me and kill me. Because I might have an idea of defects of character. Some of them are pretty obvious. Some of them we know without even doing the fourth step, the stuff that's going on. The problem is those roots go deep and they got a lot of tentacles and they bleed into other stuff. And at the end of the day, we'll find one thing drives every defect, and that's fear. The evil and corroding thread. But I had to take a look at some of the stuff, what was going on with me, what was unresolved. And that's when I had to go out and seek outside help. Along with this, not only for the food was a symptom of a greater problem. I addressed a lot of stuff in my fifth step about getting molested as a kid, about watching my mom, get sicker and sicker and her suicide, and growing up with a dad that was just terribly afraid of. But the thing that happened to me as a little boy, getting molested and my mom committing suicide, that was still unresolved with the fifth step. I was bullied a lot in school. I was very popular because of my music, and the older guys kind of didn't appreciate it. And I got beat up. I got bullied a lot in school. In fact, a few times there were guys who were in their 20s, and I'm all but 14, and my dad had to step into that when I was in junior high school. So it's kind of icky. And here I am a year or two sober, and that stuff is still dictating how I see you. It's still dictating how I speak to you. It's still dictating how I see me in the mirror. And I still saw myself as a little bit dirty, and food erased that. I got comfort in food, like a drink. So I had to go to outside help. And with a lot of prayer and a lot more inventory and a lot of sitting in therapy for 5 years, somehow, someplace, somewhere in there, that went away. Am I cured of that? Absolutely not. It's just part of what makes me me. It's part of my isms. My alcoholism doesn't come in a bottle of whiskey. But thank the good Lord, all that stuff's been arrested a day at a time. I still don't think I'm the most popular guy in AA. I do this a lot. I'm on the road almost 40 weekends a year at conference. That's a busy calendar. But I don't take that for granted. I don't announce where I'm speaking when they say who's speaking, because that to me is a little bit arrogant. How can I boast about something that has been given to me? So I take no credit for this. Now, some might disagree with that. It's just where God put me, and I put my head on the pillow and I sleep at night. I'm very grateful that these things a day at a time get arrested, because I will tell you, I've had some sleepless nights when money was tough, when job security became job insecurity. I've had some tough nights when I was going through a divorce. But I don't have any tough nights about, oh my God, I can't believe what I did. I can't believe I said what I said. That kind of stuff. And I haven't woken up next to someone where I have to reintroduce myself because I have no clue where nothing. A lot of you guys know you're getting drunk. She looks like Bo Derek, and the next morning she looks like Bo Diddley, and so a day at a time the stuff gets arrested. So I love our 7-step prayer. I still say it in the morning as a centering prayer. I say that I love our Lord's Prayer. I love the Serenity Prayer, the third step. All those prayers I say in the morning. I cannot command the Spirit to do anything. I can't say, God, I'm praying really good today. Give me what I want. He's too smart for that. What I do is those prayers to get me centered, as to remind myself who I'm praying to and what this sacred moment is about. Just if we think about it for a moment, we talk about God almost matter of fact and cavalier about it. But if we really get centered as to who we are on bended knee talking to, the power, the omnipotence, what we think is love, he passes that. What we think is mercy, we can't even wrap our head around it. They're in this God's presence, and he is loving enough to hear me. That makes it different. That the only reason why I'm sober, above ground sucking air, because he willed it. Not because I'm a nice guy, or I drive a nice car, or I live on A1A and, Boca. It's his anyway. It's because I came to him and begging for mercy, and he's okay. So that kind of gets me centered. So that's what I do with the prayers. And one of the things I ask him is, whatever you have for me, I'll do to him. I'll go where you want me to go. I'll do what you want me to do. I'll say what you want me to say. I'm ready. Lock and load. Let's go. And sometimes there's very little. And sometimes there's some mountains to climb. But I do it. I chop wood and carry water. Last thing, and I'll get out of your hair. This is from Comes of Age. This is me, and this is who we are. A doctor was observing us and came up with this. It says characteristic of the so-called typical alcoholic is a narcissistic egocentric core, dominated by feelings of omnipotence, intent on maintaining at all costs its inner integrity. While these characteristics are found in other maladjustments, they appear to be in relatively pure culture in alcoholic after alcoholic. He goes on to say this: he, the alcoholic, is and must be the master of his destiny, and we will fight to the end to preserve this position. That's a pretty scary personality disorder. When the book says we suffer from grave and emotional mental disorders, that's it. I will make the supreme sacrifice, my life, for a drink, rather than seeking help to live. That's what I do. I drink alcohol till it kills me, and I take people with me. The defects of character, they come to the surface. I start to see them while I'm sober, and they'll take me back to a drink again. The other thing that I need to go to God with so he can deal with, because if I don't go to God and have God deal with defects, they will deal with me. And what they will do is block me from you, take me from you, block me from God, take me from God, and the only relief I can find is in whiskey, and it's all over again. So it's a constant vigilance and a daily reprieve that I have here. I never have this stuff locked up. Sometimes something will show up out of nowhere. Like, where is this coming from? Except I call on God. I don't look for a fire escape, because the building's still going to burn. What I look for is a fire extinguisher. That's God, just to put it out. It's not that far. It's not that difficult. So there's been plenty of times I've gotten on bended knees and said, God, I got a lot of narratives going on. I feel like I should be making more money and own my own company. I remember doing that, and I should, and I should, and I should, and I should all over myself. Yeah. I don't do that anymore. I'm grateful to be above ground sucking air and sober. That's all I got.